Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are going on a serious deep dive into the mind of genuinely one of the most intense individuals walking the planet right now. Our goal here? It's highly specific. We're going to deconstruct David Goggins' extreme mindset to cure a very modern, everyday ailment, that chronic burnout and that heavy, lingering feeling of just falling behind. We're going to break down exactly how to stop looking outward for validation and start building an absolutely indestructible foundation inward.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to be covering the left behind syndrome, entering the dark room, Principle 1, which is invisible growth, Principle 2, the accountability mirror, Principle 3, the 40% rule, and finally, breaking the speed limiter.
Starting off with Section 1, the left behind syndrome, and the 30-second trap.
Look, we have all felt the sting of that 30-second trap, right? You know the one. Opening your phone and in half a minute, you're staring at a highlight reel of everybody else's absolute perfection. People getting promoted, launching brand new businesses, standing on top of mountain peaks with these giant triumphant smiles. Honestly, it makes you feel like you're just totally falling behind. And it's so easy to look at a literal superhero like David Goggins and think, well, I could never be that amazing. But wait, let's contrast that whole Instagram illusion with Goggins' actual gritty reality. Before all the fame, the guy weighed 135 kilograms. He was literally working as an exterminator, spraying cockroaches in dirty restaurant toilets for $25 a night. And get this, he quit Navy SEAL training, not once, but twice. You see, success has 1,000 fathers, but failure is always an orphan. Goggins was not born some superhuman freak of nature. He was struggling just like any of us, completely buried under his own failures.
Moving on to Section 2, entering the dark room, silence and sacrifice. So when Goggins finally decided to change his life, he didn't go post about it online for likes and validation. No, he retreated into total silence. Because in his words, the dark room is not our massage parlor, it's an operating room. Think about that for a second. In our modern self-help world, we're constantly fed this toxic positivity, right? It's like a comforting little massage for our egos. But the dark room is raw, brutal, surgical truth. It's that isolated space where you go to dissect your own flaws and you do it without any anesthesia. While everyone else was out in the light trying to look like they were making progress, Goggins was running in the pitch dark, building this monstrous level of discipline where motivation just didn't even matter anymore.
Which brings us to Section 3, Principle 1, Invisible Growth and the Biology of Impatience.
Have you ever wondered why it's so agonizingly painful when we put in the work but don't see immediate results? Well, biologically speaking, our brains are hardwired to demand instant, visible reactions just to survive, kind of like dodging a predator in the wild. But real, lasting growth? It just doesn't work like that. And this brilliantly illustrates the concept. Look at the Chinese bamboo tree. For 4 whole years, you plant the seed, you water it, you take care of it, and you see absolutely zero visible growth above ground. Nothing. But underneath, it is building this massive, phenomenal root system. Then suddenly, in year 5, boom! In a single season, it shoots up 27 meters into the sky. That's roughly an 8 or 9-story building. It doesn't rush the process. If it had tried to grow even a single meter in that first year, just to satisfy some superficial expectation, the very first storm would have ripped it right out of the ground. Why? Because it wouldn't have the deep roots to actually support its height. We only grow as high as our depth allows.
This whole idea is perfectly captured by the great psychoanalyst Carl Jung, who said, "No tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." And man, this isn't just some nice poetry or a comforting little quote. This is a structural law of human potential. The sheer height of the success you can eventually achieve is structurally dependent on how deep into your own personal hell you are willing to dig and build those roots.
All right, Section 4, Principle 2, the accountability mirror and brutal honesty. Now, a lot of modern self-help gurus tell us to look in the mirror every morning and say, I am enough. But let's be real. If you are stagnating, if you're being lazy, saying that is just a temporary painkiller hiding a much deeper infection. Goggins completely threw away those fluffy excuses and created a very strict mechanical process. He called it the mirror ritual. Step 1, face your ugliest, truest self. He literally called himself out for being out of shape and lazy right to his own face. Step 2, grab some sticky notes. Every single night you write down your fears, your absolute weaknesses, and the hard tasks you know you need to accomplish, and you slap them right on the glass. If you quit a workout early that day, the note says, you were weak today, tomorrow you run 5 extra kilometers. And step 3, which is absolutely crucial, you are not allowed to take that sticky note down until the hard work is actually done. So when he woke up, the very first thing he saw wasn't his tired face, it was the harsh, unfiltered truth staring back at him from those notes. His mirror literally became a daily courtroom, and guess what? You simply cannot lie to the judge in that courtroom.
Let's turn to Section 5, Principle 3, the 40% rule and the brain's deception.
So whenever you're pushing yourself hard, your body is inevitably going to start screaming at you to stop. But Goggins discovered this kind of terrifying truth. Your brain is a professional liar. It is designed strictly for survival, not for breaking records. When you hit what he calls the 40% mark, and you feel completely, utterly destroyed, when the pain is so overwhelming and your brain starts flashing this massive fake limit warning, you actually still have 60% of completely untapped potential sitting right there. Literally. When you feel like there is no way you can take a single step more, you still have more than half of your fuel left in the tank.
So the crucial point here is really understanding how this deceptive mechanism works in our heads. Goggins uses this brilliant metaphor, comparing the human brain to a speed limiter in a car. Now, if you don't know, a speed limiter is a mechanical component that artificially caps a car's engine speed to prevent damage, even though the engine itself is fully capable of going way, way faster. Well, your brain does the exact same thing with pain and exhaustion. It deliberately magnifies the pain to artificially cap your effort. It wants to prematurely stop you purely as a protective measure. It just doesn't want you to get hurt. But to really grow, you have to figure out how to bypass that artificial limit.
Which leads us directly into Section 6, breaking the speed limiter in the 100-mile race.
To truly understand how you break past this massive mental deception, we have to examine the ultimate extreme scenario. Goggins signed up for the incredibly brutal San Diego 100-mile race with literally zero previous preparation. Zero. And by kilometers 110, the physical toll on his body was just horrific. His kidneys were shutting down. The bones in his feet were literally fracturing under the stress of the pavement. He was urinating blood. Every single alarm bell in his brain and in his actively failing body was frantically screaming at him to stop because he was doing real severe damage. But instead of giving in, Goggins stubbornly rebelled against his brain's deception. Instead of surrendering to the speed limiter, he stood up on broken legs, pushed straight through that agonizing pain, and he actually finished the race. By doing that, he entirely shattered his internal speed limiter and unlocked a whole new world of power that he had no idea even existed on the other side of that wall of pain.
Now, obviously, you and I aren't going to wake up tomorrow morning and run 200 kilometers on broken legs. But his story, it leaves us staring directly at our own untapped potential. Real, life-changing growth doesn't happen in that first 40%. For most of us, that's literally just the warm-up. True transformation begins at the exact second your brain tells you it's impossible to continue. The pain you feel in the darkroom, that's not the finish line. It is the gateway. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to chew on. When you finally stop listening to the professional liar in your head, just how much stronger are you than you think? Take that question with you today, and I will see you in the next explainer.